Today, I was in court for Cassie Ventura's second day of disturbing testimony against Sean Diddy Combs. In inside courtroom 26A in Lower Manhattan, the jury saw for the first time direct material from these so-called freak-offs that she says she was forced to endure. In just a moment, we'll go through everything that happened with my team of legal experts and court insiders. But first, let me bring you inside of this courthouse. You know what it feels like. I mean, the jury had a whole night to process the disturbing details of these freak-offs that were laid out yesterday through the eyes of Cassie Ventura. The graphic details, the alleged abuse, the drug abuse. Today, they didn't have to use their imagination, though. It got real in that courtroom today when the jurors, not the public, not the press, when the jurors saw still screenshots from these freak-offs. There was something so uncomfortable about the moment. Watching the jurors see something so raw and so personal in a courtroom full of eyes and full of opinions. Cassie was the most emotional we've seen her. At times, even reflecting when she heard the words come out of her mouth, saying things like, "I can't believe I dealt with that." And you gotta understand, these aren't gigantic courtrooms. Cassie and Diddy are not at opposite ends of a football field. They are feet from one another. And the only thing between them really are their lawyers. And even though all eyes were on each of them, I don't think they ever looked directly at each other. Not when she walked by him, not when she was testifying, not when at times she broke down sobbing, remembering how she loved him and just wanted him to say sorry for the things that he had done. Now, when she talked about not wanting to live anymore, or her opioid addiction, or lying to her mother about the abuse or when it started or the extent of it, the audience was shifting uncomfortably. And sometimes so did she. Sometimes so did Diddy. Much of Cassie's testimony today described the extent of the abuse she went through. She testified about having to hide under a toilet to get away from Diddy. She revealed getting a gash by her eyebrow after he threw it into a bed frame in front of her friends. She said she got stomped in the face on the floor of Diddy's Escalade for the duration of a ride home. And she claimed throughout their time together that she felt, well, powerless to make the choice to escape. Now, to make her point, Cassie talked about going to a hotel when Diddy beat her after a party in Los Angeles. She said she didn't want to stay, but felt she couldn't leave. She testified, quote, "It was not safe. I didn't have the resources I needed to get out and move, to get out and not have anybody stop me." You know, Cassie went on to say, I understood Sean's capabilities, his access to guns, and the threats that he made prior to that. Cassie clarified her testimony from yesterday as well, saying that there were times that she did try to fight back or even initiated violence. She testified she did so earlier on in their relationship, but she quickly found out it could backfire, telling the prosecutors, quote, "I found that it could escalate the fight more and make it worse for myself." When the prosecutor asked what she meant by that, Cassie said, quote, "Just make him more violent, make him stronger. Want to push me harder in that situation." You know, Cassie also described the leverage, that's the word she used, leverage Diddy had over her. She said that leverage came in the form of blackmail, those videos specifically of the freak-offs. She testified that Diddy threatened to release them when he got angry. Cassie said, quote, "One time I dated someone else, and that is what it was all about. I'm going to put out 2 embarrassing videos of you. He just wanted to hurt me." Now, Cassie's direct testimony is actually now over. The defense, though, they're going to get their chance to cross-examine her and go into the details again tomorrow morning. I want to begin with CNN entertainment correspondent Elizabeth Wagmeister, who you and I have been bosom buddies in this court. We've been sitting next to each other, watching it all go down, and you have a unique perspective on all this and the coverage you've been doing. Talk to me, though, about the scope and of the violence and the intimidation that she laid out in court today.
Yeah, Laura, so as you said, her first day of testimony yesterday really focused on these freak-offs. Today focused on the physical abuse, the domestic violence. This was the first time that the jury saw photographic evidence of the injuries. You mentioned this gash on her eyebrow. We saw bruises all over her body, a black eye, a fat lip. I want to walk you through just some of the instances that Cassie brought up when she testified today. One time she said that she and her girlfriends, they went to Prince's party. Yes, the musician Prince. Diddy was there. He didn't know she was going to be there. He got angry and she said, quote, "He beat me up." She said that after they broke up in 2018, that he raped her in her living room at her home. She also said that it wasn't just her, that one time he held one of her friends over the balcony on the 17th floor of her apartment in Los Angeles and hit another one of her friends with a wooden hanger.
And she lost that friendship. That was a best friend of, 17 years she described, and then they don't communicate any longer. I'm curious to see how the prosecution might develop those connections a little bit more fulsomely. But also, she was dating somebody who we know, in the music world is Kid Cudi. He came up today.
He did. So Kid Cudi, he is a rapper, and him and Cassie dated about 15 years ago. It's when her and Diddy were in a rough patch of their long-term relationship. Now, this actually first came up in Cassie's lawsuit. You remember she filed back in November 2023. That's what started this domino effect of the civil allegations against Sean Combs. Now, in her lawsuit, she alleged this, incident that she said where Sean Combs found out that she was dating Kid Cudi. He got jealous, told her that he was not happy about it, said he wanted to hurt both of them, and that he wanted to blow up Kid Cudi's car. Well, according to the lawsuit, and now according to her testimony today, we heard it from her for the first time, his car did blow up. And I have to tell you, around the time that our lawsuit came out, Kid Cudi actually confirmed this to the New York Times, saying it's all true.
I mean, the expanse of what we heard today, what the jury is hearing today, this is before the cross-examination. But one thing that they ended on in her testimony, and direct, of course, the prosecution wanted to get out, why she was choosing to testify. And I tell you, people were leaning in at that moment to see what she would say. Why?
This was a really powerful moment, Laura. As you said, she cried today more than she ever had. Cassie revealed towards the end of her testimony that she was suicidal, that years after her breakup with Sean Combs, that the relationship was just clouding her mind. She got flashbacks and she wanted to take her own life. Thankfully, her husband stepped in and helped her. She said in February of 2023, she went to trauma therapy. And this is what she said about why she chose to take part in the criminal trial. I want to read you her exact testimony, Laura. She said, quote, "I can't carry this anymore. I can't carry the shame, the guilt. The way I was guided to treat people like they were disposable." She's referring to the male escorts there, Laura. She continued to say, "What's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, and I'm here to do the right thing." That's how her testimony ended today. So a very powerful note. And to your point, you said this just a few moments ago, now the jury went home. They are sleeping on that final note before cross-examination starts tomorrow.
We have breaking news in the federal sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Prosecutors have finished direct examination of Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. At one point today, Ms. Ventura became tearful, describing how alleged abuse at the hands of Combs nearly led to her suicide. Also today, prosecutors showed the jury explicit photos of the alleged drug and sex-filled so-called freak-offs. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges. Back with us tonight is CNN anchor and chief legal analyst Laura Coates and criminal defense attorney Arthur Aidala. Is it clear? I mean, how did the jury react to all this? What was it like?
Oh, there was one point in time when a juror touched her chest and took a deep breath when she saw the still photos of these purported freak-offs, as they were called. A male juror looked quickly and then darted his eyes away. Another was taking notes as well.
So they were shown still images?
They were shown just images. This was not to the public, by the way. This was one of the fights they had, one of the days of the early discussions about how they were going to approach the explicit nature and graphic nature of it. There was a binder that was shown. Sean Diddy Combs had the binder. He was kind of hunched over looking through the images and then didn't have much more interest in setting them aside. But this was what Cassie had feared most of all. She did not want anyone to see what Diddy was purported to say, iPads full of skeletons. This was her fear to have it exposed, and there it was for the jurors to see, and it was graphic. We knew what they were talking about. They described these freak-offs, and then she talked about what was in them. Corroborating testimony of somebody who was a sex worker talking about it before, candles in the room, different lubricants visible, the lighting that was seen as well. It was all there for these jurors to see.
Arthur, how damaging was it, do you think?
I mean, I don't think that part of the corroboration is so damaging to the defense. Their defense is not that it didn't happen, it's that everybody was okay with it happening. I think the damaging part is she talks about an experience, I believe it on a plane coming back from Cannes, the film festival, where he sits next to her, even though she tries to move seats, and shows her videos that she thought were deleted on his computer of these freak-offs. And she said, oh my God, he's blackmailing me, telling me if I go to the police, if I open my mouth, he's gonna show these things out, which will ruin my life because they're so explicitly horrible. On the flip side, she talks about the two of them going to dinner together, making love together. The nature of their relationship was loving and caring. She said, I think at one point, something like, I couldn't quit him. Our relationship was so close, it wasn't easy to break apart. Obviously, that's what the defense has to highlight tomorrow.
Yeah, they also described that she says that he raped her and that she also had consensual sex afterwards. They also had a moment when she was describing how when she got word that someone knew about videos in the ether, she told Sean Diddy Combs while they were still together, and he too was surprised and then had security go to try to intimidate this person to find out what they knew and when. So there was a little bit of two discussions, one on which she was fearful and the other where he had people who he was trying to contain it and saying to her, don't let that person out of your sight. Make sure he knows this is your life we're talking about. So there's a little bit of interesting notion of, was he threatening her and coercing and intimidating, or was he too also protective to keep for blackmail or other reasons?
Tomorrow, and this is tomorrow, they just have to come out of the box. I'm assuming
Is she still on the stand tomorrow?
She's on the stand. I believe, I should have checked, I'm sorry, because I know Mark Agnifilo. He's the lead lawyer. I'm assuming he's doing this cross-examination.
It'll be a woman doing the cross-examination, and cross will happen tomorrow.
Okay. If I'm starting off as the defense attorney, I am leading off with as much evidence that we have about all the positive things of their relationship. Here's a picture of you and Sean in Cannes. Here's a picture of you and Sean on the Empire State Building. Here's the car he bought you. Here's the yacht he bought you. Here's the plane he bought you. Let's talk about your contract. When you met him, you were worth $100,000. Now you're worth $50 million, not based on the lawsuit against him, but based on your music career. You did this with him. You went there with him. He took care of this. All the positive parts of their relationship. And obviously focusing on 11 years they were together. 11 years, and all the opportunities you had to leave, all the opportunities you had to get out of this.
There is a danger, though, in going after her.
There is a danger not only for the optics, for victim blaming, but also because some ideas of, well, why'd you stay, can be read as very archaic to some jurors and thinking you don't know anything about why people and the whole reason that they do so. But I'll tell you, she was very emotional today. In fact, she was reflective in a way that she hadn't been before. At different points in time, she would say, I can't believe I did that, or I can't believe I experienced that, talking about the physical toll, the hell it took on her body, speaking about infections that couldn't be cured by antibiotics that no longer worked, talking about having to take days to recover, talking about even a Father's Day text where she talked about her love for him and that she wished they could have a baby of their own. And you could see sort of the jurors watching this woman in real time in this moment, reflecting on the breadth of what happened.
Breaking news, the jury today visibly reacting to testimony from Sean Diddy Combs' former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, on the stand for a second day. The jury shown multiple X-rated drug-fueled sex party freak-off images, explicit images hidden from the public. Elizabeth Wagmeister is inside the courtroom again today, and she is out front.
Cassie Ventura, looking glamorous at a Hollywood premiere, but she says the public couldn't see her mental and physical pain. Bruises, a black eye, a fat lip, all from this, an assault by Sean Diddy Combs just 2 days earlier in March of 2016. Ventura testifying for a second day. I had bruises on my body that weren't completely covered by the makeup, she said. I had quite a bit of makeup on my face. The injuries, the result of Combs kicking and dragging her, she said, after she tried to escape a so-called freak-off, a drug-fueled sex session with a male escort, orchestrated by Combs. It allegedly happened the day after this.
So this is my first real, film.
Ventura promoting her new film on CNN, addressing her racy sex scene in the movie.
I was aware that the sex scene was, or the sex scenes were going to be a little bit much, but, I was asked if I was comfortable. I was very prepared. And it is an uncomfortable thing at the end of the day.
Days later, Ventura says she was dealing with the fallout from her assault in the hotel. When Combs contacted her, she texted, "You are sick for thinking it's okay to do what you've done. Please stay far away from me." But when a friend saw the wounds and called the police, Ventura wouldn't name Combs. In that moment, I just didn't want to hurt him that way. It was just too much going on, Ventura testified, adding she wasn't ready to turn him in. The couple attended the premiere together, with this photo snapped of Ventura showing what appears to be a scar above her right eye. In court today, Ventura showed the jury a permanent scar near her eyebrow from a different alleged attack by Combs in 2013. "He threw me down. I had a pretty significant gash. I cover it with makeup," she testified. After he sent her to a plastic surgeon, she says she texted him a photo of her wound, "So you can remember." Combs' response? "You don't know when to stop. You have pushed it too far and continue to push. Sad." While admitting she sometimes initiated physical fights with Combs, but she says she never saw him injured. In the freak-offs continued, she said, as she felt controlled by Combs. "I feared for my career. I feared for my family. It's horrible. It's disgusting." Ventura testified that her physical health was also affected by the sex sessions, many of which lasted for days. Ventura's husband, Alex Fine, was in the courtroom for some of her grueling testimony, which comes as she's roughly 8 months pregnant, which Combs' attorneys believed could endear her to the jury. The defense tried to prevent Ventura from being paraded by the jurors, a source close to Combs tells me. The judge denied that request.
Aaron, this testimony was horrific, to say the least. Now, Cassie Ventura, for the first time ever, she actually revealed in front of the jury that she was suicidal in the years after her breakup with Combs. She said that she was getting flashbacks to this relationship. When the prosecutor asked her, "Why are you here today? Why are you here at this trial?" I want to read you what she said. She said, "I can't carry this anymore. I can't carry the shame, the guilt. What's right is right. What's wrong is wrong. I'm here to do the right thing." She was crying at the end of her testimony, and tomorrow she'll take the stand for a third day for cross-examination.
Cassie Ventura continued her testimony against Sean Diddy Combs today. The star witness and former girlfriend of Combs testified about the alleged abuse she endured and the freak-offs that Combs allegedly orchestrated. Combs has denied the allegations and pleaded not guilty. CNN anchor and chief legal analyst Laura Coates joins us now from outside court in New York. And Laura, Cassie Ventura back on the stand for a second day of testimony. Tell us what happened.
So much happened today. This was a day, in many respects, that Cassie Ventura has feared. She has lived under a cloud of fear and anxiety about the release of images or the videos of those so-called freak-offs, these days-long drug-fueled sexual encounters with paid male escorts, the basis of which the prosecution is suggesting that there was a racketeering enterprise, sex trafficking, and prostitution. Well, today the jurors were able to see still images of these explicit photos, so much so that when Cassie Ventura was going through the binder that was set out before her to ensure that only the jurors herself and the parties, not the public, could see, she sort of rolled her shoulders in discomfort for a moment. A juror grabbed her chest and let out a deep sigh. Another male juror looked quickly and looked away. Another one drew notes. It was quite a moment of this culmination of her fear, but she also described violence at the hands of Sean Diddy Combs and violence towards other people, including some that she initiated. She described an opioid addiction, Jake. She described, even shocking to so many people in the room, she described a suicide attempt where she came home about 2 years ago after feeling triggered, having worked on a video shoot, and having all sorts of flashbacks, goes to her home with her now husband, her 2 children inside, and says to him, "You've got this, you don't need me," and tries to walk into oncoming traffic, prompting her to not only go into rehab for an opioid addiction, but also trauma addiction, trauma awareness and trauma therapy.
The defense agreed that Combs committed domestic violence. He's not on trial for that. He's facing racketeering conspiracy, transportation to engage in prostitution, and sex trafficking charges. Is the prosecution making their case when it comes to those charges?
This is no cakewalk for the prosecution. On day one of opening statements, the prosecution said, we're going to give you a lot of information. It might not come in chronologically. They're going to come at the end and try to piece it all together. But so far, here's how the prosecution has tried. They have tried to create the impression of an enterprise, the inner circle of Sean Diddy Combs, comprised of his high-level executives, his trusted assistants, his security guards, who are all working together, they say, to engage in criminal activity, namely facilitating these freak-offs involving interstate transport and escorts and paid prostitution for sex trafficking. They've tried to put those pieces together, and they have talked about the payments that were made. They've shown photos of the escorts, almost a series of sort of headshots of people, dozens that they have shown already, and they're trying to put that together. What we're still waiting to hear more from, including through the cross-examination, which they will definitely try to undermine, is to what extent Cassie herself was forced, coerced, threatened into sex trafficking, which must include her non-consent.
Combs' team will begin their cross-examination of Cassie Ventura tomorrow, which I'm sure she is dreading. What are you expecting from their cross?
They're going to have a strategy that takes into consideration optics. One of the things the defense didn't even want to do, they didn't want her to even walk down that center hallway as she passed by the jurors, visibly pregnant, to sit down and describe her life before she was a married woman with now 3 children expected, 2 already here with her. They're going to have to adapt in the sense of being straightforward, direct, but not allowing these jurors to conflate the yesterday Cassie Ventura with today. But I'll tell you, they have a hard task ahead of them in that sense, because as she was describing, Jake, the abuse at the hands of Sean Diddy Combs, including at one point saying that she had been kicked in the back, she moved her body to almost mimic that. The optics were real.
Take us inside the courtroom, Laura. What was Diddy Combs' demeanor while Cassie was testifying? Because I'm sure his attorneys told him to behave a certain way. Don't scowl at her, don't be angry. What did he do?
Oh, every defense counsel knows that every eye in that courtroom is on the defendant, trying to read every emotion, interpret every single look and glance. He kept his eyes trained on her throughout the testimony, often writing notes, however, to his counsel, leaning over, shifting in his seat, crossing and then recrossing his legs, and finally landing on a position where he held his hands, fingers intertwined, on his lap before adjusting again. Meanwhile, of course, when she would walk past him, he would follow to see her walk out of the courtroom. She would not look his way, but she certainly knew that she's being watched, including by the jury.
All right, a live look at that federal courthouse in New York City. We have been seeing a lot of it. Day 3 of the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial just wrapped. Combs' ex-girlfriend and accuser, Cassie Ventura, took the stand for a second day. CNN anchor and chief legal analyst Laura Coates is live outside the courthouse. We're also joined by CNN legal analyst Ellie Honig and Joey Jackson. Laura, let me start with you. You were able to watch the proceedings from inside the overflow room in the courthouse. What could you make out about Diddy's demeanor as Cassie? I mean, these details were just so incredibly graphic, and it wasn't even just about what happened to her.
No, we had a front row seat, having her in front of us on this feed, able to see every single emotion, also to see the reaction of Sean Diddy Combs, a man that she says violently abused her and exploited her over a period of a decade. And prosecutors say he was a sex trafficker, of course, a racketeer, and also somebody involved in prostitution. What we saw today, if I could describe it in a phrase, this woman was under a constant threat, a constant feeling of anxiety that her deepest, darkest secrets, or as Sean Diddy Combs described it, iPads full of skeletons would be revealed. These so-called freak-offs, days-long, drug-fueled sexual encounters with escorts for money that she says she never wanted to participate in. She talked about the violence not only to her herself, but also to other people, describing one of her friends being dangled off of a balcony, another friend being hit in the head with a wooden hanger, a man that she was dating, a man we know by the name of Kid Cudi, who is a hip-hop artist as well, who was threatened, and she broke off relationships with him out of fear for her and their safety. We also heard about her desire to go to her mother, that she wanted, after a severe beating, to go home to her mother. Instead, security guards and assistants brought her ice cream. And then there was a very emotional moment as she described her opioid addiction, for which she later received rehab and trauma therapy, that she one day came home from filming a video shoot, had a particularly triggering experience, turned to her husband in the home with their children and said, "You don't need me. I don't want to be here anymore. You've got this without me," and tries to walk out into the street in like incoming traffic to commit suicide. Her husband wouldn't let her. They then talked about that all-important civil settlement for $20 million following her desire for Sean Diddy Combs to just read chapters of a book that she drafted about her experience. Casey, why? Because she said after all that time, she just wanted him to know how he'd made her feel.
Really, I mean, it's honestly difficult for me to listen to you lay it all out there. Joey Jackson, the attorney for Sean Combs, says that the defense has to adjust the strategy because this testimony from Cassie is going differently than they expected. What do you take away from that?
Well, I take away from that, Casey, is that they have a lot of work to do. And certainly this is a relationship that was extraordinarily complicated. It appears that he was abusive, he was broken, he was shameful. Should be humiliating to him. And it appears that crimes were absolutely committed as it relates to his conduct, with Cassie. Assault, aggravated assault, menacing, right, threatening, all these things. The issue, I think, is that in their cross-examination is you're going to have to hone in whether or not they were federal crimes. And if they're federal crimes, it's one thing. If it's state crimes, then it's quite another.
Yeah. Ellie, as a former federal prosecutor, do you think the prosecution got the most out of this testimony?
Oh, for sure. I think Cassie Ventura came through as the perfect witness, given that, especially that she's the star witness. I mean, based on Laura's description and what others who are inside the courtroom have said, she gave testimony that was credible, that was believable. She painted a sympathetic figure. It doesn't hurt, by the way, that she's extremely pregnant. And also, importantly, her testimony was backed up, was corroborated by video, by text, by emails. That's exactly what you want in your star witness as a prosecutor.
Really, really tough stuff. Laura Coates, Ellie Honig, Joey Jackson, thank you all very much.